Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sarah, for your kind introduction. President Arthur, President-elect Truther, distinguished leaders on the dais, it is an honor to be able to speak once again to the leadership and membership of the Maryland State Bar Association. I'd like to congratulate President Arthur, add to the long list, I'm sure, of those who have congratulated Sarah on a magnificent year as bar president. Sarah's leadership has brought credit to the bar and to the legal profession at large. Congratulations, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Forgive my back. For your vision and the good work that is its product. The occasion of these remarks allows me each year to express the gratitude of the Judiciary to the Maryland State Bar Association for the work it does in support of the administration of justice in this fine state. In our troubled times in which social and political division and conflict are marked by disrespect for individuals and institutions alike, I believe that this year it is important to speak to the vital importance of the support that you, the lawyers, the members of this Bar Association, provide. As Justice Ginsburg noted, judicial independence is vulnerable to assault and can be shattered if society exists to take care of and to preserve that we assure the ongoing independence of the judiciary. With the members of the judiciary, constrained as they must be from engaging in public debate, you, ladies and gentlemen, you, the members of the bar, are the natural and necessary defendants of an independent judiciary. Thank you for that. The 2006 position paper of the American College of Trial Attorneys, entitled Judicial Independence, a Cornerstone of Democracy that Must be Defended, it calls upon lawyers and their professional organizations to do just that as a matter of professional obligation. I hope you feel as I do. It is an obligation for all of us. Lawyers must constantly remind themselves that judicial independence is critical to a free society, and they must educate others who may have lost sight of that. Lawyers must recognize genuine threats to judicial independence, and when they arise, call attention to them and confront them. I continue with Justice Ginsburg's words. Beyond working to preserve a sound, fair, and impartial court system, assaults on judicial independence must be addressed, both by lawyers as individuals and by the professional organizations they have created. Again, why it is so vital that we have the Maryland State Bar Association here in Maryland. And they must be addressed in a way that will both educate the public and meet the threat. On behalf of the Maryland Judiciary, thank you, officers and members of the MSBA, for you have worked and will continue, I know you will, to work diligently this year and going forward to support the independence of the judiciary and thereby strengthen the rule of law. Your annual review of proposed legislation and testimony to the General Assembly on matters of importance to the judiciary, including the need to eliminate contested elections in the circuit courts, is appreciated, deeply so, by the members of this branch of government. We, the third branch of government, small though we may be, I believe, I hope you do too, that we are mightily important, indeed essential, to a democracy based upon the law. We will keep trying, and I hope we will have your continued steadfast support until we remedy the untenable situations that contested elections does have the potential to create, particularly in these times. As Chief Justice Roberts wrote in 2015, judges charged with exercising strict neutrality, and those of us in the room, we all know we swore an oath to be neutral. let me begin again. Judges charged with exercising strict neutrality and independence. We cannot supplicate campaign donors without diminishing public confidence in judicial integrity. That is why we, and you with your assistance, that is why we are concerned about contested elections. This principle, Chief Justice Roberts has said, dates back at least 8 centuries to the Magna Carta, which proclaimed, "To no one will we sell, to no one will we refuse or delay right or justice." Thank you for your steadfast support. Thank you for your eloquence. And nobody knows how to be more eloquent than an attorney. So thank you. And thank you for your commitment to the rule of law. Thank you for providing the insight and perspective that has informed the development of judiciary processes and procedures, whether by service as members of the Rules Committee. Some of you might very well be in the room. Thank you. For commentary on the proposed rules. You do that on a regular basis, and it is much appreciated. On work groups of the Judicial Council or on local initiatives. Thank you, attorneys of the MSBA, for devoting countless hours, and I do mean countless hours of effort and resources to improve the administration of justice, to increase access to justice, and to keep the promise of equal justice under the law. Thank you. Thank you for helping to build a legal community that works to enhance the profession, and in doing so, again, to strengthen the rule of law. Every lawyer in this room, in more than one way or another, is instrumental in these efforts, and as much as those have forged the way before us. Yes, much work has been done, yet much work remains. Since my appointment as Chief Judge now nearly 5 years ago, I have embraced the urgency that attends this remarkable opportunity for service. For, as you know, the Maryland Constitution declares the end date of the service of every judge, his or her 70th birthday. So I am not content. I'll probably mention that again 2 or 3 times in my remarks. Not content. I don't mind the 70th birthday, but I'm not content with where we are. We're going to continue to work harder. Right, Chief Judge Morrissey?
That's correct.
Okay. As the administrative head of Maryland Judicial Branch, it has been a privilege. It is also, to borrow the word of Victor, it's humbling, isn't it? It's humbling to have responsibility. It's humbling to know that others are counting on you to carry it forward. I have been privileged to and able to build upon the many accomplishments of the Honorable Robert Mack Bell, my predecessor, my chief, who worked assiduously to ensure that the doors of justice open wider for each and every one of us. I thought it appropriate to share with you just a bit of what we have been doing to build on the good work of Chief Judge Bell. The Maryland Judiciary continues to be devoted to improving the delivery of fair, efficient, and equal justice to all. We have responded and will continue, I promise we will. We continue to respond to trends in justice improvement throughout the country. We are capitalizing on the research and the resulting best practices to bring better informed decision-making to our courts in Maryland. We are, for example, working hard toward the ultimate goal of ensuring that no person is denied access to the justice system based on a lack of economic resources. That no person should be denied full, meaningful access to justice. We have joined jurisdictions across the nation in examining laws, procedures, and practices to address the growing concern about the detrimental and disproportionate impact upon the poor. That examination has resulted in Maryland and elsewhere around the country to changes at every stage of the criminal justice system, including Maryland's Justice Reinvestment Act, more than a few of us know about that, now in its 2nd year of implementation. Maryland has already reduced arrests through the use of citations for certain nonviolent offenses and diversion of defendants. Again, those of you who practice in the criminal law, you are aware of that. Diversion of those with minimal criminal records and minor offenses And that has become the norm in most of Maryland. The opioid crisis, it may further drive the collection, and this is a good thing, it may further promote the collection of some offenses to treatment in lieu of arrest. I hope that you agree that generally diversion is a far more effective alternative for those struggling with addiction and whose offense is possession of a controlled substance. We are working with our justice partners to make that happen in Maryland. And I know if Chief Judge Marcy were standing here next to me, he would say,
go Ember.
Well, that too. Has anybody in this room not heard that at least once before? No, in addition to go MDAC, we've made it an important feature of judiciary leadership to be sure that we are connecting on an ongoing basis, appropriately so, with our justice partners and the stakeholders in our court system. The changes to the Maryland rules on pretrial release that were unanimously approved by the Court of Appeals took effect not quite 1 year ago. The new rules help ensure that no criminal defendant is held prior to trial simply because he or she cannot afford a monetary bail. That is self-evident, it is elementary, it is obvious, and it's what we should be doing and are doing. The revised, yes, thank you. But I can't take credit for it. That takes a lot of people, again, including our justice partners. I have a feeling Paul Lewis just, he started that round of applause, I guess. The revised procedures reflect that monetary bail should be a last resort, ladies and gentlemen, to ensure a defendant's court attendance and compliance with other conditions of pretrial release, so long as the defendant does not pose a danger toward the community or individuals. Last November, the Judiciary prepared and submitted to the General Assembly a report evaluating the early impact of the procedural changes on pretrial release. Let me just take a moment to give you just a bit of information about that report, because sometimes reports tend to be not read completely or not fully understood. So let me see if I can take a stab at it. The report showed that at the initial appearance after arrest, the number of people held pending satisfaction of a condition of monetary bail had been cut nearly in half. Did you hear that? Nearly in half. That is a good thing, ladies and gentlemen. People should not be held pre-trial, recall presumption of innocence and all that, should not be held pre-trial simply because they cannot afford release. But yes. Thank you. I only have another hour, so. Further, according to the study of initial appearance hearings done by the ACLU, since the adoption of the new rule in Maryland, we have the attention of the ACLU. Since the adoption of the rules, there has been a 50% increase in the use of unsecured bail. What that means is you promise to attend, to appear. If you don't, we'll see. Usually it's waived. But unsecured bail, there's no going to a bail bondsman who will take 10% of the amount, the face amount of the bail and not get that back, or put you on a so-called payment plan that could take decades, literally decades, to repay. Release on a defendant's own recognizance has also increased, and that I want to explain. Not surprisingly, the number of defendants held without bond has increased as well. This trend is being followed closely within the judiciary, isn't it, John? And beyond. At least two factors are likely to be in play. It's early yet, but we suspect that these are the reasons. One likely factor is that commissioners and judges, and I believe appropriately so, are shifting away from setting that $1 million bond to say, which is set high because used to be the thought that will keep the community safe and will ensure your appearance. Well, think about it. The high bond is much more likely to be imposed on someone who is, in fact, a flight risk or a danger. So what do? You don't impose a high bond that could be met. This is the circumstance in which individuals should be held pre-trial. It is unsafe to do anything else. It is not securing the safety of the community. And those commissioners are shifting away from the high monetary bail. The judges are shifting away from that, to finding that defendants who pose a risk of danger are in fact incarcerated. Nobody wants to do that, but it's to ameliorate, it's to mitigate a risk. And I hope everyone understands that. A second factor is likely to be the lack of pretrial services in some of our Maryland jurisdictions. And we're working on that. We in the judiciary know that the work in this area is not yet complete. We have a way to go. Often, as with many things, it takes money. But we're working hard with our criminal justice partners to develop pretrial release services in those counties that do not have them, and to improving the services that are already in place. We hosted, I'm proud to say, we hosted a statewide pretrial summit in May to begin discussions to address the need for pretrial release throughout Maryland and to identify emerging best practices. The improvement of pretrial release has been called the Gideon issue of our time. You all remember that? Some of us live that every day who are in the criminal justice or the legal services provision of services to our people here in Maryland. It is the Gideon issue of our time, and it could not be a more apt description. The Maryland Judiciary is also concerned, as well it should be, that human trafficking. Have you been reading about that? That is a hidden scourge. It is, and I don't think I'm overstating it when I say it's an epidemic throughout many forms of human trafficking. So we're looking at that. We're figuring out, I hope, with some success, what are the best practices. How do we best identify individuals who might come before the criminal justice system, apparently, shoplifting or what have you, when in fact there's a story behind that story. So justice demands that we understand the dynamics of human trafficking, and we're working on educating ourselves to get there. We're also devising better ways to recognize and address the needs and rights of our most vulnerable, our children, and the elderly. We have adopted a policy against the presumptive in-court shackling of children in delinquency proceedings, a good thing. And the Court of Appeals has recently adopted new rules strengthening the rigor of the appointment, the education, and the accountability of guardians who are appointed by the courts. That is, of course, to protect adults who cannot manage for themselves. We are examining, too, with your input, ways to revitalize the business and technology caseload. We haven't forgotten about that. There's also much work to do in Maryland to close the gap between where we stand now and our meeting fully the civil justice needs of the poor. Now, I won't give you statistics. I'll just say this. Now, Maryland is ranked pretty high in providing civil legal services. I'm proud to say that we rank third in the nation. That's a good thing. We're never content, though, with third, as Chief Judge Morrissey reminds me. First is where we want to be. But even though we rank third in the nation, we have, and some of you may have heard this a week ago at the Equal Justice Council breakfast, we have 1.5 lawyers to provide civil legal services per 10,000 of our poorest residents. 1.5 lawyer per 10,000 of our poorest residents. Certainly it's good to be at the top nationally, as I said, but still those numbers are quite sobering. I hope you agree with me. To meet some of the need, the Maryland Judiciary provides grants to fund and to staff self-help centers in district court locations in Glen Burnie, Upper Marlboro, and Salisbury, which together assisted nearly 6,000 walk-in litigants in fiscal 2017. In the same fiscal year, our virtual, the young folks in the room would understand what I mean when I say our virtual self-help center, the Maryland Court Self-Help Center, provided remote legal assistance, get this, by email, live chat, and telephone to over 55,000 people. That's good news. That's good news. Family law self-help centers, we have helped 53,000 walk-in litigants seeking help in family law matters in every county in Maryland and in the city of Baltimore. And I know there are people in this room who have been contributing to that effort. Thank you, thank you. Good work is being done, no doubt, and I will go off script to say, this guy right here, that one, right there, Chief Judge John Morrissey has been absolutely crucial in that effort. And I know he like receive it. You deserve it. It's a high compliment, and it's absolutely so. I am pleased to report on a related note that the Maryland Judiciary has a vibrant access to Justice Department. Under the leadership of Judge Pamela White and staffed by another Pamela Ortiz, we have made use of 21st century technology to facilitate access to our courts. We have developed a free app for smartphones. That may not seem like much, but it is something that is important in a very real way. Through the app, one can, not just the lawyers, all of us can quickly access a host of up-to-the-minute information and learn about what's going on, what opinions have been filed, what's on our website, our videos, and we have many of those. You should check them out. They're great, great resources. And they provide useful information. The Judiciary is working on, and in coming months will be implementing a tech-savvy mechanism for reminding people of upcoming court dates. Probably you can figure out what that might be. It's as simple as a text message. Texting. They're in a good way. In a good way, Leadership Academy. I know that project has been a great one. A great one. This is one positive way. Texting to remind an individual tomorrow or next Monday, and maybe getting a second to be in court. And the research, the national research, has shown that it has made a huge difference. A huge difference. We avoid FTAs, we save money, and people get to court. The policy initiatives and innovations I've mentioned today seek to address only some of the many needs that we have. At mine and yours, I believe, if we hope to meet our obligation to provide equal justice under the law. As we look to the future, and it is coming faster than we realize, I am pleased, but not content, with the judiciary's achievements. I believe that ours is a strong judiciary devoted to justice. We are strong because we are not complacent. We do not cling to past practices. When the evidence shows that there is a better way to do the work of justice, our responsibility is to the people of Maryland. They're not just owed, but rather guaranteed equal justice by our system of laws, by the rights granted by our Constitution. And I believe that how the least fortunate among us experiences the law has a significant impact on society as a whole. I do believe it. The doors to justice should open wide for each and every one of us. So I'll close with a commercial, my commercial. I mentioned that the judiciary is able to provide support for limited legal services, and the judiciary helps to address the need in some other ways. But what the judiciary is able to do cannot substitute, ladies and gentlemen, for what the poor and vulnerable truly need, and that is legal counsel, someone standing by the side of that individual. As I see it, in having the privilege to practice law, we have in our hands the power to right wrongs. We can respond to the call for justice to all. I look to you, members of the Maryland State Bar Association, and I am heartened, for I see Maryland's leaders in ensuring that the promise of equal justice can be kept. For the poor who are fortunate enough to receive your services and thereby gain access to justice, the doors to the courthouse do open wide. I am heartened as well, for I see before me the defenders of justice through law, the defenders of the rule of law, the cornerstone of our democracy. I see you, the attorneys of Maryland, in your role that harkens back to the earliest days as a nation, and I'm not only heartened, but grateful. Grateful to you, grateful for the opportunity to speak with you this morning and to share some of what we're doing in the judiciary. Thank you for everything, and thank you for the invitation.